I move that this House has confidence in Minister Helen McEntee. We'll debate a lot of things over the next 2 hours, but I want to reiterate our thoughts are first and foremost with the school children and their carer who were so brutally and senselessly attacked last Thursday week. 2 remain in hospital this evening, and we hope they make a recovery. I also want to restate my gratitude to those who risked their lives to save other lives, and to thank the Gardaí, frontline workers, council workers, transport and retail workers of all nationalities for their response to the riots that ensued. Their response demonstrates the power of people working together, and I believe they and the public at large want us in this House to work together to make our capital streets safer. The issue of confidence is a distraction from that important work. I've known Minister Helen McEntee for nearly 20 years. I worked on her by-election campaign after the sad death of her father Shane, and I had the privilege of appointing her as Minister for European Affairs in 2017 when I first became Taoiseach to work alongside Minister Coveney and me on the important issue of Brexit. Helen is trustworthy, sincere, intelligent and loyal. She's someone I turn to in difficult times and is never afraid to show her mettle when challenged, as she has in the past week or two. I'm thankful for her work as Minister for Justice, carrying on my party's tradition of law and order, alongside a wide agenda of reform, cracking down on crime, helping victims, and improving access to justice. I believe her record speaks for itself. Recruitment to An Garda Síochána is recovering post-pandemic, with up to 800 new recruits entering Templemore this year alone. She's negotiated the highest budget for the Gardaí ever, over 20% higher than when she started in office in 2020. We now have the largest fleet of vehicles in the organisation's history, with around 100 Garda cars and vans, extra Garda cars and vans due by the end of this year. Gardaí will soon have body-worn cameras for the first time, with the first phase due to start in Dublin early next year. This will improve their safety as well as evidence gathering. Minister McEntee is introducing facial recognition technology to enable retrospective viewing of CCTV footage, freeing up thousands of hours of Garda time. Minister McEntee has already doubled the maximum sentence for assault causing harm, increased the sentence for conspiracy to murder from 10 years to life, increased the sentence for assaulting a Garda or emergency worker from 7 years to 12. She's also working to crack down on the proceeds of organised crime, and the number of gang-related murders has fallen significantly on her watch. She's working on the overhaul of archaic licensing and nighttime entertainment laws, reforming our defamation laws, modernising our outdated incitement to hatred and hate crime laws, creating a new dedicated family court, and I believe no minister has done more to combat violence against women than she has. She's also appointed more judges and has a plan to expand prison capacity. I know we need to ensure that people are safe and feel safe in Dublin city centre. I've committed as Taoiseach that the full resources of the state will be available to the Minister and Garda Commissioner, and I'll make sure that there's leadership and coordination from my office in that regard. We need a tough response to the riots, that's clear. But we also need to understand why some people reacted in the way they did, and to what extent the riots were orchestrated by subversive elements. These riots do not reflect the wishes of the vast majority of people living in Dublin's north inner city. I know that. Of the 48 arrests, only 4 were resident in Dublin 1. In politics we will always have disagreements, but I think there also needs to be a sense of proportion and balance, and unity in times of real crisis. The Sinn Féin motion of no confidence was a political stunt, unnecessary and counterproductive. People want us to work together to improve law and order, not just in Dublin, but across the whole country. Removing the Justice Minister and the Garda Commissioner, which is Sinn Féin policy, would be a victory for those who engaged in violence and incited violence on our streets. It would embolden them to strike again, and that above should be sufficient to vote with the government here tonight. I would not have confidence in a Sinn Féin member becoming Minister for Justice. I would not have confidence in a Sinn Féin member as Minister for Justice proposing the appointment of the next Garda Commissioner. Sinn Féin has talked a lot about horrific events unfolding in the Middle East, and rightly so, but they will not acknowledge war crimes that may have happened in this country. Crimes committed in our name by terrorists the Irish people always rejected. Crimes like the Enniskillen and Warrington bombings, in which children were killed. Their justification is reminiscent. It wasn't deliberate. They weren't being targeted. They were just collateral damage. Crimes like the murder of Garda Jerry McCabe, Patrick Kelly and Austin Stack. And of course, Sinn Féin politicians, when asked, and they're not asked often, will use every word imaginable to avoid admitting that these things were crimes and that the perpetrators were criminals who should be dishonoured, brought to justice and punished. That's why we cannot have a Sinn Féin Taoiseach, why we cannot have a Sinn Féin Justice Minister, and why we cannot have a Sinn Féin Defence Minister in the next government or any government. Ceann Comhairle, the events of the 23rd of November were a real shock and not something we're used to in Ireland, thankfully. We need to make sure that these were exceptional events, and I vow that we will. For those who are listening at home, I encourage you to come to Dublin City over the coming festive period to support our businesses and show solidarity with city centre communities. There is an increased Garda presence and it's highly visible, and we'll be doing everything we can to make sure that you are safe and feel safe at all times and get home safely too. Mar dúirt mé an seachtain sicáte, mar rialtas be míid gan stéanú ó thaobh saránaí agus níní a cosint. Beg na Gardaí na strádanna agus déanfaí siad aon rud atá ag teastáil annas go mothuaí daoine sábháilte. As I said last week, as a government we will be relentless in protecting our citizens and defending our people and their property. The Gardaí will be on the streets and will be visible and will do whatever it takes to make sure people are safe and feel safe. Ceann Comhairle, it is an honour for me to express my full confidence in my friend and colleague, Deputy Helen McEntee. I commend this motion to the House.